Hello everyone, this is Genius Yoshi, and today we're going to be rating all of the Amber cards from Rise of the Floodborn using the rating scale right over there. 5 amazing, 4 solid card, 3 meh, 2 you probably don't want to be playing this. I might be playing this in another video, but you shouldn't. And 1, yeah, I'm going to skip. So let's go on to the ratings. Let's open up the review with Bashful, the hopeless romantic, part of the Seven Dwarves band, an inkable 4-drop, 2/5 quest for 3. Very good stats line. There's very few characters that can quest for 3 on turn 4 and that have solid stats to boot. Actually, you can compare this to Cusco. He doesn't have the ward, doesn't have the positive ability, but he has 1 more toughness, which is something, and costs 1 less. So I mean, I'm comparing it to Cusco. It's nowhere near as powerful, but he goes well with the 7 dwarf synergies as he empowers some of the other dwarfs, and he does have himself the downside that he can't quest unless you have another 7 dwarf character in play, so you don't play it outside of a 7 dwarfs type strategy, but within the 7 dwarf strategy, he's an acceptable dwarf, so we'll give him a 3-star rating. Here we have Christopher Robin, Adventurer, a 2/6/6 quest for 2. So stats are high toughness, low combat power. Questing for 2 is decent. Whenever you ready this character, if you have 2 or more other characters in play, gain 2 lore. Ooh, that's interesting. So the main use case is when you have a fairly large board, you have Christopher Robin, you exert it to quest, and then on your next turn, when you ready it, you gain 2 lore. So he's essentially quested for 4. If you can survive a full turn exerted with that 2 power, not quite likely, and with 2 other characters on board, which again is not overly likely. It's more of a win more type of effect when used that way, or a you must deal with Christopher Robin. Now there's some shenanigans we can pull here. We can use the Shield of Virtue to unexert Christopher Robin during our own turn. We can use LeFou to just unexert it during our own turn and then have a combat, and he's exerted for next turn. Then when you get the turn back, you get an extra 2 lore. Or even if you can get multiple combat ability, you can start gaining a bunch of lore by just combat, you exert, you ready it with an ability, combat, you exert, ready it with an ability. And you can go kind of crazy with it. But you either need that very specific line of combo or somewhat difficult situation. You still need to have 2 other characters in play, which is by no means easy to do. Because of its potential, I'm going to give it 3-star rating, and because of the difficulty to activate his ability, I'm going to give him a 3-star rating. Here we have Cinderella, the Ballroom Sensation, an inkable 1-drop, 1/2 of stats, quest for 1, which is subpar for 1-drops. You'd expect 2/2 quest for 1, but she's a singer. She's a singer 3. Now that's good. I'm talking real good. Well, first off, what are good songs for 3? Friends of the Other Side, Mother Knows Best. I don't really need much more than that to already be sold on Cinderella. But really, Singer 3 also means that you can sing 2-drop songs off of your turn 1. For example, 1 jump ahead. That means that on turn 2, you can 1 jump ahead and 1 jump ahead. Double ramp. Okay, well now that gets interesting. You can also do 1 jump ahead and play a character. You can also sing Zero to Hero off of Cinderella, allowing you to put another character in play. So you can go Cinderella, 1-drop, 1-drop, sing Zero to Hero, play a character 3-drop on turn 2, while still having played the 2 1-drops. So Cinderella enables a lot of these types of strategy, these early game plays, and even later in the game. If you don't want to sacrifice a 3-drop by exerting it to play your friends on the other side or your Mother Knows Best, your 1-drop Cinderella Ballroom Sensation is just there looking at her dress, and then she's like, oh, it's my turn. Ha ha ha. Sing a song with a very low cost. We've seen just how dominant Ariel is with her ability to sing a song costing 2 more than her. Of course, she has access to grab your sword and a whole new world, but 3 is kind of a critical point where the songs get really good. So I expect Cinderella to be competing with high-class 1-drops like Lilo and Maleficent that are the aggressive ones. If you're not playing that aggressive curve, you're probably playing Cinderella, and she's inkable to boot, so I'm going to give her a 4-star rating, mostly because she's not game-ending and flashy, but it's more like a 4.5 star, almost 5, actually. 4-star rating. She's going to get included in a lot of decks and be really good at it. Here we have Cobra Bubbles wearing his Men in Black glasses, looking at you with a threatening glare. He's a 5/9 for 7, inkable, quests for 2, exact same stats as Triton that we have in Sapphire. Triton is at the bottom of the binder, completely unused, and with an expending card pool, Cobra is going to go below Triton in the completely unused card, and he's going to deserve a 1-star rating because that's the lowest I can get. Here we have Doc, leader of the 7 Dwarfs. Does he deserve his title? Let's find out. 3-drop, inkable, 2/3 quest for 2. So slightly subpar. You can get a 3/3 quest for 2 for an inkable 3-drop. But he comes with an ability. Whenever he quests, you pay 1 less for next character you play this turn. Alright. It's a decent character with decent stats and a good ramping 1-time ability in the tribe of the 7 Dwarves. I don't think he's good enough to be included in most non-Snow White and 7 Dwarfs lists, but in that list he's a perfectly fine dwarf to include, and so I'm going to give him a 3-star rating as a bad leader of the 7 Dwarfs, but a decent member of the tribe. Here we have another 7 Dwarf character to look at. Dopey, always playful, a 3-drop with 2/2 stats, 1 lore. Honestly, these are the stats of a 1-drop, so you're paying +2 ink to have a 7 Dwarf. And what's his ability? When he is banished, your other 7 Dwarfs character all get +2 combat power until the start of your next turn. So you gain the combat power for your challenge and for the swing back if the opponent has any swing back. Now the fact that it affects all your dwarfs is decent because you're hopefully going to be playing a ton of those in a 7 Dwarfs deck. But Dopey himself, like on an empty board, you're overpaying by quite a lot. And combat power is not great. If the opponent doesn't have anything exerted, you're not gaining anything out of that ability. You need Dopey to be banished, which means you're probably doing a bad combat with your 3-draw in order to facilitate another combat where you're going to be taking a bunch more damage. I don't think this is very good, to be honest. He is a 7 Dwarfs character, and if you can get him at a discount, maybe as a 2-drop with a Snow White or 2, then he might be okay, but we'll see. There are better 7 Dwarfs out there, so I'm going to give Dopey a 2-star rating. Here we have Eudora, the Accomplished Seamstress, a 1/9 for 5, inkable, quest for 2. Well, this card is interesting because 9 willpower is a lot of willpower. So if you're playing some kind of support deck, she's a prime target, goes to combat, but even just questing, the amount of combat that the opponent's characters have to do to take out Eudora is a lot of lore that they're not gaining. It's a lot of other characters that they're not attacking. And Eudora's still questing for 2, so she is a reasonable threat. And typically you get, what, 5 power for a 5 toughness for a 5-drop? Now I'd like to have an ability on her, something like heal 1 damage per turn or something like that. And because she has such high willpower, if you can give her power boosts or if you can heal her, she can stay on the board even longer. Imagine Eudora with resist 1. That's very, very tough to kill. So I think, while not being an all-star, this card has some potential, and I'm going to give her a 3-star rating. Definitely an almost evasive in limited, and in constructed it remains to be seen whether just a ton of toughness is good enough. Next we have Gaston the Singer, or the Baritone Bully, 3/3 for 3, quests for 1. Stats line's actually okay. You can get a bit more out of your 3-drops if you're playing a vanilla character, but Gaston has Singer 5, and we've seen just how powerful Singer 5 is on Ariel. Now you're trading the potential card draw of Ariel for 1 extra power in Gaston, which makes him, in my opinion, inferior to Ariel. But redundancy is pretty good, and as we've seen with the Amber Steel Singers, Gaston can be included in a couple of copies if you want the extra Singer 5, and I think he's going to see some play, and it's actually fairly good. So I'm going to give him a 4-star rating. He'd probably be better, but he's getting eclipsed by Ariel Spectacular Singer, which is up there as one of the strongest cards of the first chapter. And just the fact we're comparing Gaston to her is quite meaningful. Here we have Grand Duke, Advisor of the King, a 2/2 for 2 quest for 1, which is the stats of a 1-drop. But he comes with the ability, yes, your majesty, your prince, princess, kings, and queen all get +1 power. Now, +1 power is one of the weakest stats boosts that you can give, but princesses seem to be going towards the combative type, and if you can give +1, say to Moana, for example, that is quite a decent stats boost. Not fantastic, not great, but okay, especially since Grand Duke only costs 2, and if we can get a bunch of card draw, then he might be worth some copies. I'm going to give it a 3-star rating. I don't think he's a must include in any deck, but he might see some play. Here we have Grumpy, the Bad-Tempered Dwarf. 3/4 for 4, quest for 1, and your other 7 dwarf characters get +1 combat power. Okay, so how much are we overpaying for a 7 dwarf here? And how much are we paying for that ability? Well, a 3/4 quest for 1 is the stats of a vanilla 3-drop. So you're overpaying by at least 1 ink. So the ability must be worth that much to consider playing him. Boosting all your other 7 dwarf characters is okay, mostly because it's permanent and you can surprise your opponent with the, well, it's not really an enter the battlefield, but just Grumpy out of nowhere, roar, and that makes your opponent grumpy, because what used to be a bad combat suddenly turned into a good combat. So I think Grumpy is a nice dwarf to include in your 7 dwarfs deck. Obviously, his ability is mostly meaningless unless you're playing a bunch of other dwarfs, in which case you don't play Grumpy at all. But in 7 dwarf deck, he's decent. So I'm going to give him a 3-star rating as a nice addition to the archetype. Here we have Happy, the good-natured 7 dwarf. He's a 5-costed inkable, 3/5 quest for 2, stats line subpar, but not terribly subpar. He does quest for 2, 5 willpower. That's a power that's a little low. Okay, and what does he have? He has support, so he can boost your other character. Support on the 5-drop is a bit weak. I mean, just as a vanilla character, Happy is just subpar compared to Maximus. He has less power. He doesn't have bodyguard, and bodyguard is worth a lot more than support. But in the 7 dwarfs archetype, well, still not great, honestly. I mean, if he benefits from the attack boost from another 7 dwarf, and the problem is he doesn't enable you to play the other dwarfs to make it better, because all the other dwarfs are cheaper. So he's kind of your top end. He's there to just close out the game, and a 3/5 supporter isn't going to close out the game. So overall, I'm not a big fan of Happy. Not too happy about this one. I'm going to give him a 2-star rating because he does benefit from all the other 7 dwarfs abilities, but he's not that much better than just a pure vanilla character, even in that archetype. Here we have King Louis, the jungle very important primate, VIP, 3/8 for 7, quest for 2, and whenever another character is banished, yours or the opponent's, you may heal up to 2 damage from this character. So this is a very, very tough guy. We've seen with Stitch Surfer Dude that 8 willpower for a 7-drop is tough to remove, especially since he bites back. That 3 power just adds up over time. And King Louis is just good at picking off weak targets on the opponent's side of the board, because he picks them off, takes a bit of damage, heals back that damage, and he's ready for another jungle brawl. What I don't like about King Louis is that he's a 7-drop. And when you get into 7+ type characters, you really need very powerful effect to justify playing them. In particular, having an enter the battlefield type ability like Elsa, Spirit of Winter, or the Sapphire Hades that just removes a character. That's the type of effect you want on your super top end characters, the 7, 8, maybe even 9 drops. If you dare play the Maleficent Dragon, you need that kind of ability to make an impact. And King Louis doesn't do that. Actually, in the 7-drop Inkable slot, I do prefer Stitch Surfer Dude, because card draw is generally favorable to healing, and again, it's an enter the battlefield ability. The second you play him, you get the value. If the opponent has a removal spell, doesn't matter, you've already gotten the value out of the card. And because of that, I'm going to give a 3-star rating to King Louis. His healing might be good in a healing deck if you can cheat him out on the battlefield, maybe with a 0 to hero early on and just get a couple of combats in and keep on healing. You can get into a good state, but compared to other top of the line 7-drops, he just doesn't quite cut it. We have Mickey Mouse, Friendly Face, a 1646 Inkable, quests for 3. With the effect of whenever he quests, you pay 3 less for next character you play this turn. So it's an expensive card and doesn't have any impact when he enters the battlefield, which is a downside. But a 3-quester with a lot of willpower is still potent. He reminds me a bit of Moana that we've seen right now. So typically this type of card's pretty good at questing, and if he can live for a couple of turns, then he's going to generate a huge advantage for your board. Problem is he doesn't have that much defense, so you really need to be able to protect him with other characters, either a bodyguard or some kind of removal effect on a character. And because he allows you to get 3 more ink for next turn for your next character, it goes very well with Maleficent the Dragon. So you can go Mickey on 6, Maleficent Dragon on 7, thanks to the +3 ink, remove the big threat, and suddenly Mickey has the way paved to quest. And I think this is a combo that's going to be played quite a bit with Mickey Mouse Friendly Face. Same thing with Hades or Genie on the Job, where you can have a character kind of bully the opponents a bit, keeping Mickey alive and making use of his ability to play a bigger threat. You can also go double spell and just play 2 characters, making use of the 3 ink, but that's not quite as valuable with this card. Overall, I think it's fairly decent. I'm going to give it a 3-star rating. It doesn't do quite enough to be mainstream and played in most decks, but it's quite a playable card that's going to see some play. Here we have a legendary Mufasa trying to redeem himself and make sure that he's not forgotten with Rise of the Floodborn. So the Betrayed Leader, a 3/3 for 5, quests for 2. So 2 questings and 2 lore is good. 3/3 is very subpar. I'm hoping for 4/5, even 5/5, but it's all about abilities. When this character is banished, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a character card, you may put that character in play for free and enter play exerted. Slight downside there. Otherwise, put it on top of your deck. Ooh. So you don't draw the card. If you hit an action and you're unlucky, too bad. Alright. That ability is really cool. I love it, honestly. Imagine you're playing your standard Amber Ruby deck and suddenly you're like, oh, there's a Maleficent. Bam! Destroy character. And that's after having the effect of your 3/3 for 5. Still inkable. Another upside. And because of the way you can build your deck for your inkables, non-inkable, you can stack your deck to have a very high percentage to hit a character. Not only that, but an expensive character. So imagine you're playing your deck and you're probably going to be playing about, what, 30, 36 out of those 60 cards. If you follow kind of the 24 lands and magic and 36 playables, you can take almost half of your deck and put them super high costed inkable characters and just say you're going to commit to inking all of them all the time. And then when Mufasa dies or gets banished, you have a 2 out of 5 chance of hitting a super strong target. You can even stack your deck in such a way that you're always hitting a character if you're just boycotting actions altogether, so that effect will always hit. And characters are, in general, pretty good in Lorcana, so just avoiding actions is a perfectly feasible thing. Although, this is a game of cards, and we're really playing probabilities here, so you probably want to play the probability side, still play the very good actions, and in most games it's going to pay out to be playing these actions, and Mufasa is going to whiff from time to time, and that's okay. Because from time to time he's going to hit a big bomb like a Maleficent Dragon and win you the game on the spot. And the rest of the time he's going to be good, because he's going to hit another character from your deck. Maybe it's a 2-drop, but a 2-drop for free is still a 2-drop. You get a 3/3 and bam, an extra character afterwards. Still good value. You get an enter the battlefield with a little 3-drop Maleficent, draw a card. It's advantage. So, I really like this card. I think it's going to see play. I think there's very nice shenanigans to pull with it. And I'm going to give it a 4-star rating because I think it's competitively playable and super fun shenanigansy at the same time. So, look forward to facing Mufasa's, or don't look forward to it. It's coming to an opponent's deck near you. Here we have Mulan Free Spirit, an inkable 3-drop, 2/3 for 3, quest for 2 with support. Now we've seen quite a few of these 3-drops that have that 2/3 for quest 2 stats line, and generally they have a nice little kicker effect to help them out. And Mulan's is support, which is one of weaker keywords. The stats line is okay. I'd prefer something much better than support. Now there is quite a few cards that trigger abilities when they have a certain amount of power, where support comes in, and support is a bit better with Rise of Floodborn, but I don't think it's good enough to justify playing that Free Spirit. Mulan, keep on looking, and maybe you will find a better purpose. Here we have Mulan reflecting with beautiful artwork. A 3/3 for 4 inkable, quest for 2, shift 2, so you can play her on top of a cheap Mulan for very cheap. And whenever she quests, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a song, you may play it for free. Otherwise, put it on top of your deck. So the effect is super fun. I love these types of cards that just go after top decks and allow you to play cards for free. The problem is you're not going to be playing that many songs in your deck, and some of the key songs like A Whole New World, you don't want to be playing willy-nilly at a random time. You really want a time when you're playing these songs. There's other stuff like Be Our Guest that you're happy to play kind of anytime, but really at most you're going to be playing, 20 actions in your deck? I mean, Mulan Reflecting is a nice addition with Ariel. The 3/3 stats line, questing for 2, is fine, especially with the upside of potentially drawing a card, or even better, drawing and playing a card for free off of her ability. But you really have to stuff your deck with songs to make her work, and you're kind of playing your songs as your inkable layer, so you have access to more of these to hit. It's a heavy cost to have a percentage chance to activate her ability, but I still think the effect is pretty cool, decent stat line, and I'm going to give her a 3-star rating. Here we have Nana, Darling Family Pet, a 1/3 for 2, quest for 1. Now that's stats line is the stats line of a defensive 1-drop, and comes with the ability whenever you play a Floodborn character, you may remove all damage from chosen character. Okay, it's not bad, not bad. Healing is not the greatest, as we mostly know. The difference between a heal 2, a heal 3, and a heal all the damage isn't that big either. You need to have a very high toughness character in play. You need that character to have a lot of damage, and you need to have a Floodborn character to play. And Floodborn characters are typically fairly expensive in terms of ink cost at this point in time. So because of that, I think Nana's not that great, honestly. Maybe included in a couple of copies in the heal deck. Maybe if you're playing enough Floodborn characters, it might worth just the one-off copy of Nana in your flex spot in your deck. But outside of that, I'd keep Nana in the doghouse, and I'll give her a 3-star rating for a potentially impactful ability without too much of a cost, but it's very situational. So yeah, back to the flex spots. Then we have Piglet, the very small animal, vanilla 2/4, quest for 2. Stats line's okay, but with no ability to talk about, Piglet just doesn't make the cut. 1-star rating, and let's see what's next. Here we have Rapunzel, the gifted artist, a 5-drop inkable, that's good. 0/6, her stats line, quest for 2. So 0 power is a problem. But let's look at her ability. Well, she shifts 3, so you can play her on top of cheaper Rapunzel. That's always an upside. And her abilities, whenever you remove 1 or more damage from one of your characters, you may draw a card. So it doesn't matter how much damage you're removing, it matters how many characters you're removing damage from, since it says from 1 but not or more of your characters. So if you heal 3 characters during your turn, you can draw 3 cards. And card draw is extremely strong. Now we need to have some healing, so this Rapunzel goes well with the other Rapunzel, and it allows you to draw 1 extra card. Woohoo! Okay, not the best of combo. I think she's better with Jasmine, Queen of Agrabah, as whenever she enters battlefield or whenever she quests, you get to heal essentially all your board. And that, combined with the gifted artist, can allow you to draw a lot of cards. Overall, I don't like her as much as the legendary Rapunzel that we already have, because that Rapunzel is just all in one. The healing, the card draw, and she has a similar stats line for 1 less ink. So I think the gifted artist is likely to get overshadowed by her cheaper version from the first chapter. But just as a card draw engine, you can draw a lot of cards. I mean, there's multiple ways to heal. There's Jasmine, Queen of Agrabah, but there's also the little item, the Dingle Hopper, that suddenly becomes heal for 1, draw a card, which is pretty good. So I think she might see play. I'm not convinced. I think she's overshadowed by more powerful cards, but you can never say no to card draw. So I'm going to give her a 3-star rating. I think she's definitely playable. I'm going to be making a deck about her, but she's not groundbreaking, or not an auto-include. Here we have Rapunzel Sunshine, shining very brightly because of the foilness and all the yellow on the card. Card looks great. It's an inkable 2-drop, 1/4, quest for 1. So stats line's actually pretty solid. 4 willpower on turn 2 is solid. Actually, even later in the game, she's fairly resilient to combat. The 1 power not great, but that's not the point really. Her ability is Magic Hair, remove up to 2 damage from chosen character. It's an okay ability to have in your back pocket, kind of a mini Jasmine, Queen of Agrabah, who really just does that job much better. Healing's not the best mechanic, but we've seen healing tribal cards, and I think Rapunzel Sunshine is going to be a very nice piece in the healing tribal deck. It's an okay 2-drop, maybe as a flex spot, so you just land her early and you're playing your steel deck with just all a bunch of their high toughness resistant characters, and you're looking for a source of healing, and you can give Rapunzel some extra resistance. Well, I was going to say with Grandfather Clock, but that's not an amber or steel. But anyways, Rapunzel, very good in the healing deck. Okay otherwise. I think she deserves a 3-star rating. I really like her 4 points of toughness again, and the ability is fine. Here we have Sleepy nodding off, a 2/3 for 2, quest for 2. That's important. This character enters play exerted. That's the downside. Alright, so forget he's a 7 dwarf just for a second. A 2/3 that quest for 2 on turn 2 is very solid. Right now we have what, Flynn Rider, that's a 1-2, quest for 2 on turn 2. We have the Enchantress, that's going to be a 3-1, so weak to kind of ping removal. And now we have Sleepy. Sleepy is solid by himself and just a nice heavy quester early on. But now when you take into effect that he synergizes with all of the 7 dwarves, he's basically a good card with benefits in the 7 dwarves deck. If you can play him at a discount, say you have a Snow White in play, and suddenly Sleepy becomes a 1-drop, well, he's an inkable Lilo with battle stats. That's great. That sounds good. Lilo's good, so an upgrade to Lilo must be very good. So I think this card is decent on its own, and when you start putting it in the 7 dwarves deck, he's going to be one of the most impactful dwarves. Now later in the game he's not as good, but I mean 2 questers are almost always relevant. Even if they force the opponent for a challenge, he still has 2 combat power, maybe 3 if you have another dwarf boosting him. So that's nothing to laugh at, especially for the cheap price of 2 ink. Still inkable. I really like this dwarf, one of my favorite ones, so 4-star rating it is. Here we have Sneezy, the very allergic dwarf, a 1-4 for 2, quest for 1. Stats line is fine. He's very tough, but no power to speak of. So let's look at his ability. Whenever you play this character or another 7 dwarf, you may give a chosen character -1 combat power. So the dwarf have a lot of this: boost yourselves, weaken the opponent, work as a team, and win. But as we've seen with the cards so far, like with Maximus and Aurora, the 4-drop, that doesn't see much play, weakening opponent characters isn't that great. It's a bit of a niche ability, unless you're the queen. And weakening by 1 is unlikely to have an impact. I mean, once you have him on the battlefield, it's no longer a surprise. So it's really, haha, Sneezy, the surprise. Weaken opponent character to hopefully have a combat and stay alive. Well, you need the opponent to have something exerted. You need to have something already on the board that can combat, where the 1 power you're reducing from the opponent makes a difference. Or 2 if you play a double dwarf in 1 turn. It's a very rare scenario. And because of that, I don't think he's that good. I much prefer the one that we've just reviewed. Just better stats is better. So I'm going to give Sneezy a 2-star rating. Here we have Snow White Lost in the Forest as a 2-3 for 2 inkable quest for 1, mending Bambi over there with I Won't Hurt You. When you play this character, you may remove up to 2 damage from chosen character. Okay. So first of all, she's a princess with the same stats line as Minnie Mouse, the Amber Mini, with a nice upside ability. So she's straight up power creeping Minnie Mouse out of the princess deck. And well, because of the stolid stats line, she's a nice early game play to fend off aggression. So if you're not playing the Lilo Simba line and being aggressive, playing Snow White as your turn 2, perfectly acceptable, more passive defensive, and allows you to heal some of your characters. Say you have Sleepy that took some battle damage. Well, you can get Snow White, heal your Sleepy, and Sleepy is ready for another nap, I guess, because he's sleepy. But she's nice she has nice stats early game. She has nice healing in the mid game, and well, late game, it's still a character. She's still inkable. She's flexible. So she's a nice flex spot. She's a nice 2-drop with benefits later on in the game. I kind of like this card. So I'm going to give her a 4-star rating, and I expect to see her in the 2-drop slot in a few decks here and there. And now it's time to review the princess. We've reviewed the dwarf, now it's Snow White's turn. The Unexpected House Guest. A 1-2 for 2 non-inkable. You're going to have to play Snow White. And she quests for 1, so stats line subpar. But her ability, you pay 1 less to play 7 dwarf characters. Now we have a very good reason to be playing some 7 dwarfs. Some of them are just decent with their current stats base. Give them a discount of 1 or a discount of 2. You can play multiple Snow Whites, and suddenly these dwarfs become very appealing. You can start spamming them, getting their abilities to stack. So you definitely want to play that Snow White early, get a discount on your dwarfs, get your dwarves on the battlefield, and hopefully with that discount, they're going to become attractive enough to see play. Look forward to seeing me playing a Snow White deck in the near future. Do subscribe to the channel, make sure you don't miss out, unless you've already subscribed, in which case, thank you very much. Snow White, great card. I like her ability. She deserves a 4-star rating, only in the Dwarfs deck, obviously. But she is going to be the centerpiece of the archetype and do very well there. Here we have Snow White, the Well-Wisher, with doves flying around ready to get launched and attack our opponents. She's a 3/2 shift 4 quest 4/2, and whenever this character quests, you may return a character from your discard pile to your hand. Ooh, card advantage. Now we like card advantage. So let's compare her to the 4-drop Hades. That's also not inkable, but costs 4. So Hades has the enter the battlefield ability, so you get, bam, the effect right away. Snow White, you need to exert her. So you're probably shifting her for forward and activating her ability, and with a 3/5 stats line, on turn 4 she's likely to resist a combat or 2. Well, 1. Unlikely to resist 2, unless you get resist on her. So you can get 1, maybe even 2 characters back. If you can protect her, maybe with a bodyguard, maybe more. Also, there's lots of healing in Amber. There was Rapunzel, and now there's a lot more. So Snow White has some nice use cases. If you can resolve the ability to generate a +1 or +2 card advantage, I mean, she's questing at the same time, generating 2 lore. It's a lot of cards. It's a lot of advantage. I like her stats line. I'd prefer her as 5-drop. The 6 is a little expensive, and I'd prefer she was inkable, obviously. Because now you're committing to playing your Snow White Well-Wisher. And the best way, I think, is to shift her, as playing her hard 6 ink feels a tad expensive for that stats line. Then again, you can do some kind of recursion and pick up your other Snow White with Snow White, play her, and then they can dance and sing together until one of them goes to the discard pile, and then they pick each other up. And they always have each other's backs, and they're always ready to send these doves on the offensive. So I kind of like Snow White. I'm going to give her a 4-star rating. I think she's a fine inclusion as a top-end character in a lot of the Amber decks. Here we have the Queen, commanding presence, as a 4/3 for 5 inkable quest for 2. So the stats line is okay, a little subpar for a 5-drop, as we can get 4/4, 4/5s, maybe even 5/5s for the same cost. She does have shift 2, so you can shift her pretty cheaply, and her ability can swing combat quite heavily. Whenever she quests, an opponent's character gets -4 power, and one of your character gets +4 power. And especially with that shift 2, which allows you to play her very cheaply, activate her ability, and quest on the same turn. Suddenly you can have a Grand Matala hitting for 5. You can have a Mickey Mouse Detective hitting for 5. I should probably say Amber cards. You can have your Lilo hitting for 5, and the opponent's character gets -4 power, and suddenly your Lilo's like, I can win this combat. And because of that surprise attack, it's very good. She's also good at just freezing the board, because if the opponent quests, you're threatening questing with the Queen and making the combat kind of go sideways. Also, you can reduce the power of one of the opponent's creature that you're planning on attacking with your big guy, and increase the power of your weakling that's going to go and challenge the opponent's big guy, and then you're getting 2 very favorable trades out of just the one ability, and you still gain the 2 ink out of the Queen. I think this is pretty strong. The only problem is that 3 willpower, she can get smashed, but she does live through the grab your sword ability, and with her 4 power, she is probably going to take out an opponent in combat herself. So I'm going to give this card a 4-star rating. I think it's pretty good. It's going to see some play and should be included in a few copies in a combat-based Amber deck. Here we have the Queen, Regal Monarch, 2/2 for 1, Inkable, Quest for 1, as we see the Queen just sitting nicely on her Iron Throne, just looking nice at all of the golden background. Not a great card by herself, but she is a perfect shifting target for the Queen we've just reviewed. The Commanding Presence version of the Queen is very good at flipping over combat, as long as you surprise your opponent with her. And having a shift 2 really means that having this one drop as the shifting target allows the Commanding Presence Queen to really shine. So I'm going to give the shifting target a 4-star rating, even though by herself she's really poor, really, but as a very good enabler. Here we have Hold Still, a 2-drop action, remove 4 damage from chosen character. She's saying hold still because she doesn't want to run away, because this is complete trash and deserves a 1-star rating. As we move on to the next card. Here we have Last Stand, a removal spell in Amber. Banish chosen character who was challenged this turn. Cost 2, uninkable. When do we play this? Well, we play this when we can't take out an opponent's character in combat. So first of all, the opponent's character must be exerted, because you need to challenge it. Then you need to have a challenge that didn't banish the opponent's character, which means it was probably an unfavorable challenge, or kind of one of these, I'm using my Mickey Mouse detective to ping you for 1. And then Last Stand, mega removal to banish it. So you're probably playing this in 2 for 1, which is not great. And I really don't like that it's so situational and it's not inkable. And you can play what, between 12 and 20 uninkables in your deck? Do you really want to spend some of these spots on Last Stand? Isn't that your last stand? Nope, I don't. So I'm going to give this card a 1-star rating and put it in your binder, look at the artwork, and move on. If you want some removal, play some colors with removal. Here we have Painting the Roses Red, an action song, our favorite types of action. Costs to do inkable, up to 2 chosen character get -1 combat power this turn, and you draw a card. Alright, so there's some things to unpack here. Let's start looking at the floor of this card. Forget about the first part. This is a 2-drop action that lets you draw a card. Okay, so it's an expensive, not as good develop your brain. But we have action matters type of strategies, and in those, might be playable just for the draw. I mean, you can ink it early, you can ink it late. If you don't want it, you can just pay to ink, cycle it. Essentially having fewer cards in your deck because you're just sending those to the discard pile. You can sing it and kind of get the draw for free, so you don't even have to pay to 1 ink. So that's pretty good. And now we have the very situational. You can target 1, 2, or 0 characters, yours or the opponent, if for some reason that benefits your own characters, and you get 1 less combat power. Now, when it happens that you can save 1 or 2 of your character in combat by playing this card, that card is gold. I mean, look at it this way. If you're protecting, let's go for Dream Snare, you're protecting 2 of your characters that would have been banished in combat, but they're not banished because you've reduced the combat power of the opponent. You've just gained 1 card, gained 2 cards, and it didn't even cost you Painting the Roses Red. It might not have costed you any ink because you could have sung that card. So you can get a +2 cards for absolutely free. That's even better than your friends on the other side. Yeah, okay, that's the dream scenario, Genius Yoshi. It's never going to happen. It is going to happen sometimes. But most of the time, it's going to be low-costed. You just ink it, you just cycle it, you just sing it away. Or maybe you take a bit less damage this combat and force the opponent into a slightly different path that gives you an advantage. It's a perfect flex card. which is what I like about this. You don't know what to fill in your deck with? Put in 1 or 2 painting the roses red. You're drawing it, you don't like it, it's one of the early inkable cards, and later in the game you just cycle it. No problem. Just overall very flexible card, which is what I'm looking for my flex spots. So I'm going to give this card a 4-star rating. We now take a look at the world's greatest criminal mind. A 3-drop inkable song. Already a lot to unpack. That allows you to banish chosen character with 5 power or more. Okay, so it's a cheap removal spell that only hits very big characters. If you can land it, it's awesome value. Just awesome, pure value, especially if you can sing it. I mean, a free removal spell that you can also cast cheaply or sing cheaply is invaluable. Now, if the opponent doesn't have a 5-powered character, it's still inkable, so you do have a backup plan. So it covers a wide array of things. Very good when you can play it, not so bad when you can't play it. The only thing that remains to evaluate is how many characters in the metagame actually have 5 power or more. And there it gets interesting. So if you think about it, just off the top of my head, Aladdin's a very good target for it. The new Cinderella's a very good target for this. But this completely misses on Elsa, Spirit of Winter. It completely misses on the Sapphire Hades. It hits Maleficent, the dragon, but if the opponent's dropping Maleficent dragons, it doesn't really matter. You've probably lost anyways. And most of the other characters just don't reach that 5 combat power. So it remains to be seen how the metagame evolves. If it does evolve where we start seeing 2 or 3 late game threats with 5 power or more, World's Greatest Criminal Mon is going to be awesome and included in a couple of copies in most decks. This is the perfect 1 or 2 of cards in your deck. If you know your opponent has these big threats, you keep it as a removal spell. Otherwise, you ink it early or whenever you draw it, as you're hoping that Rapunzel is going to keep your hand filled with goodies. So I'm going to give this card a 4-star rating because when it's good, it's good. Next we have Zero to Hero. I really loved that song as a child, watching Hercules. And what about the card? So it's a song, 2-costed, not inkable. I'm not a big fan of those non-inkables. But let's see how powerful it is. You count the number of characters you have in play and pay that amount less in ink for the next character you play this turn. So, to play Zero to Hero, you must have some characters on the board. You must have a big character in hand, and you must have Zero to Hero, which is moderately situational. Now you can build around your deck, and based on the inkability, if you play enough inkable big threats, you can kind of play around your Zero to Hero and make some good use of it. Now, what I do like about this card is that it's a song, meaning that if you have a 2-drop in play, and hopefully you have a bunch of weak characters in order to benefit from Zero to Hero, say you have a Grammatala, a Mickey Mouse Detective. I really like these cards. Well, you can sing with Grammatala, for example, or sing with a Simba Bodyguard, and suddenly you can play a bigger threat. And when's the sweet spot for this? It's probably, well, on your turn 3, say you go Lilo Simba. You can sing Zero to Hero, sing it with Simba, which gets you +2 ink, and then you can play your 3rd ink for the turn, and suddenly you can play a 5-drop. So it's just as good as Just in Time in that particular scenario. Now you can also go 1-drop, 1-drop, sing with Simba, play the 5-drop, because you can spend some ink, play some characters, and as long as you're increasing your character count, you can cash those into some more ink to play something bigger. I think it's going to be a decent play as a 2-of maybe in the big Stitch deck, where you're already playing a bunch of small characters and big characters, and Zero to Hero just fits right in. Overall, I'm afraid of this card getting a bit stuck in my hand, and I think it plays a very similar role to Just in Time. So I'm going to give it a 3-star rating, and let's see where it goes. Here we have Dragon Gem, a tree drop item uninkable with Bring Back to Life. You pay 3, exert your item, and return a character card with support from your discard pile to your hand. This is a super fun card. I love these infinite retrieval effects, and they're just really fun to play. But are they good? Are they good? Well, it looks awesome. It looks like a Rasengan floating in the air, or some kind of blue energy ball for those unfamiliar with Naruto. Now, characters with support is the restriction. We have one very good one. Maximus is fantastic, and he's a support character. You can also play the chicken, hey, but not so great. So there's a big restriction, and if we forget about the restriction for a moment, let's look at comparables. So Hades, the Amber 4-drop, gives you a body and picks up an unrestricted character from your discard pile to your hand. It's not reusable, but you have some tempo putting a character in play, and you can loop the Hadesies, just fun stuff. Dragon Gem, you have to invest 3, and then you have to invest another 3 every time you want to bring something back, which means you might not even be able to play it, which means when you play the Dragon Gem, you're losing tempo. Okay, well, Dragon Gem gives you a lot of card advantage. Fair point. Let's compare it with other card advantage cards. We have the Magic Mirror, for example. Costs 2 to put in play and 4 to get a card. So the card is random, you can't pick it, but you don't have the restriction of support. So this kind of compares to Magic Mirror, which is seeing some play, but it's more restrictive. So maybe the support deck wants to play 1 or 2 copies of Dragon Gem, assuming that support wants the games to go extremely long and is playing a very control-ish matchup. I don't think this is going to see much play. I'm going to rate it as a 3-star, as a bad Magic Mirror or a slightly worse version of Hades. Maybe I'm overrating it based on the fun factor, but we'll see. We'll see. It definitely looks cool, especially in foil though. Here we have Sleepy's Flute, a 2-drop item with a silly song. If you've played a song this turn, gain 1 lore, which you can activate only once per turn. So you can't just chain songs to gain a bunch of lore in 1 turn. That's big downside. The fact that it's not inkable is a big downside, which means you're committing to playing Sleepy's Flutes whenever you draw them. Then you need characters to sing the songs. Then you need item synergies to make this worth it. Then you need the songs. It's a lot to ask out of a deck to try and get consistent. It's a pretty fun card. I'm probably going to be making a deck about it. So if I were you, I'd subscribe to the channel just to make sure you don't miss out, and you can laugh at me in the comments when it doesn't work out. Future me, I've told you so. This card isn't great. I hope that you've enjoyed this set review for Lorcana, Rise of the Floodborn, also known as the 2nd chapter, for a brief period of time in history. I reviewed the Amber cards in this video, but look forward to the other 5 inks coming in the next few days, unless you're watching this in the next few days, in which case they're all up right now, and you should go and watch them, because they're fun, and yeah, I've encouraged you to do so. So Hypnosis, Pendulum, you want to go watch them. I hope you've had a great time. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up the video, and leave me a comment letting me know what is your favorite card in the Amber color, and I'll see you next time.